Hey, Miss Kelly.
Okay. I need my corrections. I need my paper.
You shouldn't put your paper.
Something you can hear and be engaged.
Yes.
Yes, Mr. Jones, who is the founder and editor of the Capital Beast, please join me. Yeah, that would be finally here and be engaged. Thank you all for being here. This is the first June, holds many opportunities of the Capital Beast. Please join me about the people who are trying to represent this here and be engaged. I am really so for being here. Sycamore knows if you're here. I am part of the the association, also known as the Soul and really excited to have each of you here to hear from these amazing people who I'd like to give an opportunity for our sponsors to give a shout out. School board members for joy, thank you for being here.
For shout for the student member of the board. Rev. Looking for a church home. I'm just excited about being here and trying to help bring the information to residents of Boyd. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to turn the floor over to comedian extraordinaire, Miss Stacy Fu, who's our moderator tonight. And our co-moderator is Miss Kelly, who is an adult learner from the Community College Preparatory Academy, who told me today she just finished her 4th IT cert. So I'm happy to have her here. Give it up, and I'll give you guys the floor.
All right, so good evening, everyone. So this is going to be an interactive form, right? So I know normally when we're on Facebook, it's easy to type, but now we're in person, so we need to amplify those same keyboard fingers and Twitter fingers and stuff with our voices today. There's just going to be a chance for you guys to ask questions, right? So don't be quiet today.
We have to share the link.
They have to hold up, and we need you to show up with your concerns. So we have some questions that we're going to ask them, right, to kind of loosen things up. When we open the floor to you guys, we want you to ask the questions that's important for our community. Got it? Right.
First question. Board A has the highest property rate in the students. Okay, third.
You got it now.
All of that.
Loud, real
Stay
loud.
behind the sheet. They get the mic.
Here we go.
Introduce the parent. All right, this question. Board A has the highest property rate in the city.
Over 30% according to the latest census data. What is your top legislative priority to increase economic mobility in Ward 8? And how short measurable in the first 2 years of?
So we're gonna start down there. Mr. Mike Austin. We want to know how we ensure measurable outcomes within the first 2 years of office in Ward 8. Measurable outcomes, according to the latest census data, is that we have the highest poverty rate in the city in Ward 8.
Yeah, but they gave me. Yeah, evening. My name is Mike Austin, and I'm running to be your next Ward 8 council. So the question just on clear was how we're gonna leverage. So,
So, Ward 8 has the highest poverty rate in the city, over 30% according to the latest census. What is your top legislative priority to increase economic mobility? And how we ensure measurable outcomes starting now?
yeah, thank you. So to increase economic mobility and to address our poverty rate that we have in the district and Ward 8 specifically, I think we need to maximize opportunities when it comes to our new development needs that we have in the pipeline. I think we have unique opportunities to make sure the Ward 8 is at the forefront of all these opportunities, making sure that we're auditing and doubling down the DSLBD to increase our small business growth, because it's one thing I know to be true, that Ward 8 businesses tend to hire more Ward 8 residents. So I want to make sure that we're definitely auditing DBS as well. And so to that point, we're going to make sure that we are on source requirements and using all of our opportunities and our tools to ensure that not just meeting the bare minimum, but that we're expanding our purchase opportunities, which requires set aside. I want to create additional set aside just for Ward 8 businesses. I think that's a unique opportunity for Ward 8 to be the forefront and center for all of these new development deals that we have coming to really address our economic disparities. I think that goes directly to our poverty pricing that we have, and to address the second part of the question, which was how would we make sure that we're doing this in the first 2 years? I think we'll be doing more oversight of DSLBD and DBS. So that means making sure that not just doing oversight season, but we're getting our fair share of the budget, and we're doing our due diligence outside of the oversight season to make sure that we are.
All right, that was Mike Austin for you, Ms. Bond. Education and workforce readiness. How will you ensure that adult learners and disconnected youth in Ward 8 have access to high quality workforce training that leads to sustainable wages?
Hold on, Sheila. Maybe say something. Yes, we have it. Thank you.
Okay, no, okay, I'm sorry, so I'm jumping in. So this is still for you, Ms. Bond. I'm gonna come over here, so I'm just keep it fair with us. All right, but unemployment consistently higher in Ward 8 than any other ward, recently estimated around 13%. What is your plan to attract job creating industries east of the river? And how can we hold employers accountable for local hiring and fair wages?
Good evening, Ward 8. Thank you. I am Sheila Bunn, and I am running to be your next Ward 8 council member. One of the things that I definitely want to focus on is making sure that we are working with our Deputy Mayor for Planning and Economic Development to ensure that we are funding programs like the Neighborhood Prosperity Fund, that we are incentivizing businesses to come to Ward 8 to hire our residents, making sure that we have more sit-down restaurants, making sure that we have amenities like dry cleaners or going to a youth guest center. I want to make sure that we are working with our business community, being intentional about seeking businesses and amenities that we don't have here in Ward 8. I want to make sure that we are supporting our small businesses. They are the backbone of our community, making sure that they have money for storefront improvements, for capacity building, making sure that burdensome processes within DSLBD are taken away so it makes it easier for them to thrive and to survive. We also want to make sure that we are looking at incentives that the city can offer to help employ our residents. I want to make sure we're looking at vocational training for our young people and for our adult learners, making sure that if college is not an option for whatever reason, you leave high school with a career path. So working with our local unions, apprenticeship programs, making sure that we're connecting our adult learners, our young people with those programs so they can come out ready for a career and with high paying wages and benefits for life. Thank you.
Okay, next question.
Same question.
Same question?
No, they all get a different question.
Oh, yes. Okay, we don't want the next answer to be better. Okay, here we go. Adult education and low literacy rates remain persistent challenge in 4-8. Where over 30% of adults lack a high school diploma. How would your legislation to support adult learners and ensure 4-8 residents of position to account?
Can you repeat that one more time?
Okay. How will your legislation? Okay.
Oh, reset. Have a seat. I'm sorry. Can I please apologize? I gave you some instructions that we didn't follow, so I want to make sure that everybody is a fair shot at responding the way they should respond. So the first thing that should happen is there's a 2-minute opening statement from each campaign. We need to go back and make sure you guys get that opportunity to do that. In the categories, there are 3 category questions for each category. You'll each have the separate question in each category. The first category we've already started was economic development. And I think Mr. Salim did not get his economic question. So we'll start with resetting for your opening statement, and then we'll start with Mr. Salim on economic development.
Good evening again. My name is Mike Austin, and I am running to be your next Ward 8 council. I am running because Ward 8 is in a state of peril, and I think it's time we have honest conversations. Many of you in this room I know, those that don't know, I'm an attorney. I've been a Ward 8 resident most of my life. I went to college in New Orleans. I'm a new father, and I've been an ANC commissioner in the past, and so does the AC chair. I'm committed to doing this work, and I just recently left United Medical Center. We closed down, the only full-service hospital that we had at the time. I'm extremely grateful that we have Cedar Hill. Sorry, 10 months. I'm grateful that we have Cedar Hill, but I want to be very clear that I am focused on making sure that we solve our healthcare challenges. That's going to be a big focus of this campaign and a big focus of mine personally. I think it's imperative that we have not just a full-service hospital, that we have care, that we have ophthalmologists and optometrists, that we have other specialty care in the ward. It's also want to focus on making sure that we're closing our gaps for our young people, to make sure that we are doing our very best to make sure that we have the services they need. Too many of our students are struggling, and we have not closed the achievement gap across the city. And so I'm sure we're going to talk a lot about that today, but my primary focus is making sure that we close our workforce gaps, making sure that we close our education gaps, and really doubling down to make sure that Ward 8 gets its fair share. This race is critical. It's probably the most critical race that we had in a very long time. And I say that because right now we're at an impasse. We're at an impasse with too many projects. We're at an impasse with making sure our students close that gap. We're at an impasse to make sure we can keep our seniors in their homes. We need somebody downtown who can fight. I'm the only person in this race who has experience writing policy. The only person in this race who is squarely focused on that can deliver on day one. So this race is critical. I want to earn your vote. Once again, my name is Mike Austin, and I'm on the Ward 8 Council.
Good evening again. Good evening again, Ward 8. I'm Sheila Bunn. Thank you. Thank you to our sponsors. I am homegrown right here in Ward 8. I'm a native Washingtonian, a native Ward 8-tonian. I grew up in Congress Heights, right here on MLK Avenue. I live in Bellevue, where I'm raising as a single mother my 15-year-old daughter. I want to be your next Ward 8 council member because I have a deep love and passion for the community that raised and made me. I've spent nearly 30 years in public service working on behalf of this community and our city. The first 16 years of my professional life, I was blessed to work with Congresswoman Eleanor Holmes Norton on issues like DC Tag, where our students go to college across this nation at in-state rates. I was blessed to work as Deputy Chief of Staff to former Mayor Vincent C. Gray, working on citywide initiatives like St. Elizabeth, bringing you things like Care First Arena, eventually Sycamore and Cedar Hill Regional Medical Center. I spent the last 8 years of my professional life at the DC Council, working on public policy development and legislation, like the Earth to Three initiative, making sure that our child care workers and our littlest scholars get the best education that they can from the start, and our educators living wages from the start, making sure that this hospital, that for the first time in 8 years, a woman can have a baby east of the river and not have to travel further of the north for many for the gynecological services. So thank you for being here this evening, and I look forward to talking to you about how we're going to make sure that we have better food access, that we support our small businesses, that we improve our educational outcomes, that we have sustainable and affordable housing, and that we are safe in our communities, and that our seniors can age in place. Thank you so much.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Salim Adolfo, and I'm currently the chairperson of Advisor Neighborhood Commission HC. And I want to say welcome to HC, welcome to our submission. Welcome to Sycamore Oak. I've had the opportunity as a commissioner to work on this project along with Soul of the City, the Congress Citizens Association, and just residents in the neighborhood. And the reason why that's important is because we want to reimagine what Ward 8 is. We want to reimagine what our lives could be like in this community. And this edifice that you're sitting in is an opportunity that was promised to us years ago, and now the promise has been kept. And as your next council member here in the ward, I want to make sure that the promises that we claim that we want to deliver to you are kept. So what does that look like? We had a hospital that was decommissioned when this one opened up. So that's a new opportunity for us. That's a new opportunity for us to have a town center. That's a new opportunity for us to have new jobs. It's a new opportunity for us to think of places where our children can go, where our elders can go, where we can just go watch a movie. These are some things that we don't currently have. We have to think about what we want our future to be. And the fact that we're here in a place where I work with our residents, with our residents, to make sure that we can get the permits that we needed, to make sure that hiring is happening, that we can get folks from right here in this community to be part of their success is something that I'm proud of. I want to say thank you to the Congress Citizens Association. I want to say thank you to them because having civic associations is very important for our vitality in this community. And we need to be working and organizing to make sure that the institutions that have legacy in our community can be here to be a part of our future. Thank you. Yeah,
Next question, please.
yeah.
This will be under education and workforce readiness. And the question is, how do you ensure that adult learning and disconnected youth and Ward 8 have adequate access to quality training that leads to sustain?
Like, good question. Thank you. First, I want to for Master Barris who just walked in, who's just celebrated her 18th birthday. So previously, I worked at the University of the District of Columbia Workforce Development Campus. And one of the first things that I did as a commissioner, and I remember this very vividly, it was June 2019. I wrote a letter to then and still is City Council Chairperson Phil Mendelson, because we wanted to make sure that we could have a workforce development campus right here in Congress Heights with UDC. And one of the things that I think is very important is that we continuously connect residents to this institution. So what I've done previously is I walked up and down the street, Martin Luther King Jr. Avenue, connected residents to the university so they could be part of the workforce development program, help them fill out the application and get engaged and get involved. I think that adult literacy is an issue that we have to continuously work on. And what does that look like? That looks like making sure that there's funds in the budget to work with the Academy of Hope, as an example. Because we have to make sure that our adult learners not only just have the institutions, but have the culturally competent people that can work with them and not treat them just like they're another number or just another file on the desk. So to me, it's important to make sure that we put the funds in the budget and have the correct oversight over these agencies so that when people come to them, they know that they get somebody that cares. Because many of our people don't care what you know until they know that you care. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Austin. Education and workforce readiness. Adult education and low literacy rates remain persistent challenges in Ward 8, where over 30% of adults lack a high school diploma or equivalent. How will your legislation support adult learners and ensure Ward 8 residents are positioned for high growth careers?
Literacy is power. For those of us who cannot read, those of us who read below grade level, and for those across the board, we know that if you cannot read at level, then you can't do a math problem. If you can't read at grade level, you can't pass your driver's test. If you can't read at grade level, you can't sustain a good job. That's a challenge because for too many of our Ward 8 residents, they are reading well below grade level, and it starts as early as 3, 4, and 5. So that would be a focus of mine to make sure that we're preparing our people to make sure that we're preparing for opportunities. First, by ensuring that we're closing the opportunity gaps for literacy. That's going to be a huge challenge, but something I'm ready to tackle. It's something I'm proud to have worked on while we're serving on the board for CC Prep, where our focus is ensuring literacy gaps and make sure we're connecting those folks to opportunities. In addition to serving, I've worked with Academy of Hope in the past, where I found that too many of our adult learners cannot spell the words District of Columbia. Those are challenges we have to address with legislation. So expanding our early childhood education options and making sure that we're setting aside workforce programs for our people to have those opportunities. So closing that gap and ensuring that those folks who cannot read at literacy levels are preparing them for the right opportunities.
Thank you, Mr. Austin. Ms. Bond, youth disconnection rates, those not in school or working, are among the highest in Ward 8. What investments or legislation will you champion to ensure high schoolers and opportunity youth are on the pathways to post-secondary success?
Thank you for that question. First and foremost, if you aren't aware, OSSI is right now considering some new graduation requirements. And in those requirements, you have to pick an op plan. So one of those, if you want to do CTE, or if you want to do AP dual enrollment or IP programs or individualized program. So I support OSSI's graduation revision requirement where you should be able to pick a career training option because college is not necessarily for all of our students. So coming out of high school, you should either be college ready or career ready. So one, supporting those graduation revisions. Secondly, I want to build a strong partnership with our labor unions. How many in here know the greatness of a labor union? That you have great wages, they fight for living wages, they fight for benefits, and you're always employed. My father, the late James Bond, was a master barber by trade. And a lot of our young people, they learn by hands-on experience, or they just don't want to do college. And if that is the choice, we need to make sure that when they graduate, they can go to college or step into a career. So I want to build strong relationships with our unions so that our kids can go into those apprenticeship programs and come out making money and be self-employed and self-resilient at the age of college graduation. And I also want to make sure that we are strengthening our business community. Our business community is the backbone of our neighborhoods. They hire us. They keep money circulating in our communities. So the more that we support them and direct our youth to those businesses, they can also have living wages and continue to keep money within our community.
Thank you, Ms. Bond. Mr. Adobo.
Okay, your question, affordable housing.
Oh, all right, so Mr. Adolfo. Workforce, education and workforce readiness, same categories we gave your opponents. How will you ensure that adult learners and disconnected youth and board aid have equitable access to high quality workforce training that leads to family sustaining wages? Sustainable wages.
Can you repeat that one?
Absolutely. How will you ensure that adult learners and disconnected youth and board aid have equitable access to high quality workforce training that leads to family sustaining wages? So your mom, your dad with 2 kids, yeah, but he need a job.
Well, one of the things that I think is important is that we still have a partnership, that we instill a partnership in this community with DC Jail and UDC. So that when we have our citizens that will be returning, that they already have that opportunity while they're incarcerated. So that they don't have to wait when they get out. I think that's very important because they can learn the skill there and they can brush up on some of the things in terms of education, literacy, so that when they come out, that they can be ready to go into Academy of Hope or CC Prep and UDC so that they can further their education. So that's one. Two, making sure that our public schools, for sure, and offer the opportunity to our charter schools can work with CC Prep or work with the UDC and our GPO and many of our other workforce development programs. We can't wait till the last minute. We got to be proactive. We got to start those processes and we got to change the culture of how we view education. We got to start working with our middle schools as well, where our young people are at, and get them to understand that it's cool, that it's great, that it's okay if you want to be a learner. And we have many children in our communities that are doing great things, and we need to start to reward them for academic excellence. We don't need to wait until children are justice involved in order to say, okay, we got to address these issues. It's important that we do this from day one and make those resources available at our rec centers. My time is up. All right, thank you.
Okay, Mr. Olson, questions to you. With more than half of renters and board aid are cost burden and housing insecurities remain a top concern, what specific policies will you propose to increase affordable housing and prevent displacement of long-term residents?
90 seconds, starting now.
First and foremost, preventing displacement will be a top priority for my campaign and when we win this council office. When I worked for former Councilman Ruby May, we wrote a bill called the Displacement Prevention Act of 2015. The bill leverages Schedule H tax credits to ensure that residents in all major developments in and around the Congress Heights area and other major projects will not be displaced by capping the increase on your taxes if you're a property owner or your rents if you're a renter. We're going to scale that worldwide to ensure that we are not displacing our people as we open our doors for more opportunities. I think that's going to be a key focus to ensure that we can attract new development. And I say that because when we say development, people tend to get scared and they say, oh no, it's a bad thing. It's a great thing. Because when we attract new development, we can create no affordable housing. When we bring new development, we can bring new affordable housing because we can create new opportunities for affordable housing to grow. So in addition to creating new opportunities, we'll ensure that we are putting set aside enough affordable units in every major development so that we are not just having a bottleneck of projects, we're creating new opportunities for our folks to have affordable housing units while making sure we're putting the displacement prevention bill in place to keep our residents from being displaced.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Housing stability. Ward 8, Ms. Blunt, has a high concentration of public housing, much of it aging and under-maintained. What role will you play in modernizing public housing without triggering mass displacement or privatization?
Thank you for that question. First and foremost, I think we need to work with our DC Housing Authority as well as DHCD to make sure, one, that we are rehabbing the public housing that is already on the books. It is a shame that a lot of our neighbors are living in mold infested, dilapidated housing. So first we need to start there, going in, partnering with some private investors to see how we can make sure that we are cleaning up and rehabbing the housing that is on stock. We also want to make sure, I'm sorry, can you read the second part of the question?
Absolutely. So what specific policies will you propose to increase affordable housing and prevent displacement and long-term residents?
Awesome.
And privatization.
Awesome. So I think another way to make sure that housing remains affordable, we need to increase our market rate housing stock. The more market rate housing that we have built, the less housing costs will go down. We also need to make sure that we are continuing to fund the Housing Production Trust Fund. That is the fund where we rehab and build affordable housing. We want to make sure that every year, to the extent possible, that we are funding that in upwards of $100 million to make sure that we are continuing to create affordable housing. Also, the city has an opportunity with the full rewrite of the comprehensive plan that is coming up that you should be hearing about and getting involved in, to look at our zoning laws to see how and where we can build more affordable housing, particularly around our transit metro substations.
Thank you, Ms. Bonnie. Mr. Adolfo, what policies will you champion to preserve the existing affordable housing and prevent displacement as new development rise in Ward 8?
All right, so as new developments arises in Ward 8, we want to make sure that we can develop as many mixed income units. Can I get the?
Absolutely.
What I'm saying is that we want to make sure that we can create as many mixed unit developments as possible. That way we can have folks who are in the various income levels have access to quality housing. We do want to make sure that the Housing Production Trust Fund is definitely fully funded, but have better oversight over the fund. We want to make sure that it's open more than one time a year. And we also want to make sure that businesses that are developing can learn how to apply to the Housing Production Trust Fund, because we find that many businesses that want to be a part of it don't know how. They don't know what to do in terms of filling out applications. And so we want to make sure that that's available. We also want to make sure we work with brothers like Gino right here, who's in Marbury Plaza, Langston Views now, that they can have opportunities to purchase, right? So we want to modernize TOPA and make sure that our residents who are in some of these buildings that need to be remodeled, that need to be rehabbed, can still remain in them once these projects are done. And finally, we want to make sure that we can fully fund and get folks into the HVAC program. We want to have oversight over many of these programs. Right now, I believe it's turning into a lottery, and that's not going to work for us. We want to make sure that people have access to these and they're learning about them. And they're learning about them when they're in high school, so that when they turn 18 and become adults and can step out on their own, that the first thing they're going to do is not to buy a car, that when you drive off the lot, it goes down half. We want to make sure that they can be homeowners in their own community.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, Mr. Mike. Your question is, gun violence continue to disproportionately affect
This one.
I'm sorry, affect Ward 8. Nearly 40% of all homicides in DC occur here. What evidence-based violence prevention model will you fund or lessen? And how do you partner with community groups to scale?
I'll be frank, I really like the violence prevention program that we had in place right now. I wish it were done effectively. I wish it wasn't used as a slush fund. I wish we treated it the right way, because we've seen it work in other major cities. So I want to double down the violence prevention model that we have in place right now. I want to see it used as a tool to make sure that the residents and the people who are most qualified to go in certain communities that have those relationships are able to make sure that we're curbing violence. So I want to do that first and foremost, because it is a great model. And when it was introduced years ago, it had a lot of promise. We just have not done it effectively. I support Councilmember Pinto combining the two agencies to make sure that we're having one general oversight agency for our violence prevention programs. Next, I want to partner with our literacy programs, partner with our adult vocational programs to make sure that our folks are getting into opportunities for high-wage jobs. I believe in my heart of hearts that violence will go down if we create new opportunities for our people. Our crimes are generally not about any kind of turf or any kind of beef about any kind of colors or anything like that. It's generally always economic. So my focus is going to continue to be to ensure that we're creating new opportunities for our young people, new opportunities for our residents, because I believe in my heart of hearts that crime will go down with that. Thank you.
Right, public safety and crime prevention, Ms. Bunn. Youth arrest and incarceration remain high in Ward 8. Despite promising alternatives like restorative justice, what will you do to ensure justice-involved youth have real second chances and access to community-based interventions?
Well, first and foremost, since we are talking about youth, I really would like to have a conversation with our young people. And I'm so excited that on May 21st, there will be a youth candidates forum because we always talk about things that we want to prescribe in terms of helping our young people. But I think that we need to start with talking to our young people and what the youth causes are for them and get their suggestions on how we can help them stay being incarcerated. Secondly, I think we need to make sure that we are working with our community-based programs that work with our young people, that they are offering the type of services that our young people need. If that is helping them, their education, if that is putting money in their pockets by helping connect them with jobs, making sure that educationally, that while they are in school, that they are getting help through structured and high impact tutoring with their grades, that our rec centers, that our out of school time programs, that we have a plethora of those on the east side of the city where our young people can have meaningful things to do and connect with the community. When we fix education, when we are focusing and making sure that our scholars are excited about school, that they are safe going to school, that they have safe passage going to school, they will not offend in our communities. And lastly, I really think that as a community, we need to wrap our arms around our young people. I grew up that if I did something, Miss Mabel down the street, my parents knew about it before I got home. She corrected me before I got home. We need to work as a community to wrap ourselves around our young people. Our churches need to wrap ourselves around the young people so that they feel the love and the support of this community so that they can be productive young people that we know they are.
Thank you. Elaine, we've heard some really great things about public safety and crime. What we often hear people say is, what we want to know what your plan is as far as the youth and how crime has spiked, and what is the plan for accountability? Yeah, accountability and big one. You might got to loosen that belt too.
I want to take my jacket. This is an issue that is important to me. And I think it's important that we get into the trenches with our young people, just to be honest. I'm not going to tell you something that I plan to do only, but I'll tell you something that I've done. I've taken children from Wingate down to Norfolk State University, down to Hampton University, to give them the exposure that they need to different environments, to higher education. I work with some of the folks right here in this community. We go down to Industrial Bank, to children with opportunities to learn about financial stability. We give them grants to open up bank accounts because this is their first opportunity ever to even go into a bank, to learn about different things when it comes to financial stability. So when we're talking about addressing some of the violence in our community, we have to expose our children to a different alternative than what they see every day. I use my skills as a DJ to teach art to children at the Anacostia Art Center, to keep them off the streets and involved in something where they can take their creative energy and use it to do something productive. My grandmother used to tell me an idle mind is the devil's playground. So when we can get our children involved in activities that they relate to, that they connect to, then we can make sure that they're going to be productive. I want to make sure the Southeast Tennyson Learning Center is funded and it gets the resources that it needs so we can teach our children science, technology, engineering and mathematics, because that's the foundation of building a community. We already have institutions in our community that we have to work with to make sure that they get the resources that they need to be the pillars in the community that they already are. Thank you.
All right. Because I didn't get to say this in the beginning, guys, and I see the room is filling up, I just wanted to say that, on behalf, this whole thing was put together on behalf of Congress Heights Community Association, along with our partners at, Elect Ed, the Congress Heights Partnership, and the Capitol News. I'd like to welcome you all to the first Board 8 Council Member Candidates Forum for this special election here at Sycamore and Oak. So we dove right into it. We was a couple of minutes behind. That's why we got straight into the questions. I just want to give y'all the format on how the rest of this, forum is going to go. So what you just heard was some of our format questions where myself and my colleague asked our candidates a round of important questions about topics that you guys have said were of high priority to you all. After the next two questions that we asked them, that's a part of the format, we're going to move into a different round where we're going to ask moderated round questions. Got it? All right. And then we're going to allow you guys to answer some questions. So we don't have a lot more to go for you guys, but we kind of want to get to know our candidates. Do y'all feel like y'all know these candidates so far? Make some noise. Have they answered your question? No, let's see if we still have questions. Okay, we're gonna keep getting into it. We're gonna move into mental health.
Okay, Mr. Kamari, here we go. Ward 8 has the highest rate of diabetes, hypertension, and infant mortality in DC, reflecting stock health inequities. What legislation tool will you use to ensure access to primary care, mental health services, and nutrition in 8?
30 seconds starting now.
Our healthcare crisis is indeed a crisis.
60 seconds starting now.
Closing United Medical Center and opening Cedar Hill is not enough. To address our diabetes issues, to address our prenatal care issues, we have to make it easier for physicians to open practices. We have to make it easier for diabetes and specialty care to open here in Ward 8. For those that don't know, I just left United Medical Center. I was one of the attorneys there, and I focused on a lot of issues. One of my primary jobs was talking to the residents during a time of crisis. What I found was that a lot of times our folks didn't realize the healthcare challenges they had until they came to the emergency room. They would come to the ER as their primary care doctor. That is an issue. Also, when talking to the physicians, I found out it's too burdensome for them to open up practices here in the District of Columbia. That's not just a healthcare issue, that's a business issue. They said they cannot open up the practices that they want. So when we win this council race, we're going to make it easier for our physicians to open their practices here. Again, I'm not just talking about ophthalmologist or not. I'm talking about an ophthalmologist, a specialty care physician specializing in the eyes. And I talked about ophthalmology because I have glaucoma, right? And so there's only, to my understanding, one doctor over here on this side of the river who does ophthalmology. So when it comes to diabetes care, when it comes to prenatal care, when it comes to all these other specialty services, we have to make it easier for our physicians to open up practices here.
Okay, Mr. Bun, you're up next. With mental health crises, substance use are rising concerns post-pandemic. How will your policies increase access to trauma-informed care and culturally relevant mental health services in the
Thank you for that. First and foremost, I believe that we need to hire and train community health workers from right here in Ward 8. So when our people need mental health services, they're getting it from neighbors and friends that look like them, that understand their issues and concerns and lived experiences. Making sure that in all of our schools, that there are trauma care informed and mental health and social workers in our schools, so that when our students are in crisis or just need a trusted to talk to, that person is there at school. Because our students spend most of their days in school, making sure that when there are situations within our community, that it's not just a law enforcement showing up, but there are also mental health providers on the ground de-escalating situations so that we don't lose life in our streets. Making sure that we are supporting and funding school-based mental health services in every budget that we produce. And lastly, just making sure that we continue to provide spaces for our young people to talk about their mental health, whether it is a community-based organization that's right here in Ward 8, or whether it is in school, making sure that our schools have all of the wraparound services that our students need. Because schools don't just educate. Sometimes they're the mother, the father, the sister, that community support that our children need. Thank you.
Mr. Adolfo, with the opening of Cedar Hill Regional Medical Center, how would you leverage this new facility to close longstanding health disparities in Ward 8 and ensure it becomes a trusted, community-centered institution, not just another building on the hill?
So one of the things I want to say is that it's important that we do have community-based health learning opportunity, right? So I've been a member of the Association of Black Social Workers and the Association of Black Psychologists. I think it's very important that this hospital have those relationships with those organizations so that we can have culturally competent institutions and organizations that are vested in our culture and our heritage, so that we can make sure that who that come to them and get somebody that cares about them and that knows the intricacies and complexities of what it means back in America when they're given healthcare. I think it's important that we open these doors up to other community organizations and individuals that do have small medical practices so that they can form those relationships with folks. One of the things that I know is very, very, very important for us, people who are spiritual people, is to form a relationship with our clergy. We need to make sure that our churches are connected to the mental health resources that they need too, so that we can have Jesus and we can get a healthcare professional, a mental health care professional to work with some of our folks. We don't have to explain the two. The two can work together. It's something else that I think is very, very important. It's something that I know that I've been a part of and done, is that we have a lot of organizations that want to work with young Black men in this community, whether it's 100 Fathers, whether it's Father Factor, or whether it's just some brothers that just get together and have a men's meeting. They need to be connected to this facility so that they can get the space that they need to have those conversations and be consistent in having them. Far too often, cut up a lot of these groups and they have to fall off because we can't find space.
Thank you. Mr. Austin, Ward 8, we're moving into infrastructure and community investment. Ward 8 has historically seen underinvestment in parks, recreation centers, and public infrastructure. What capital investments will you prioritize, and how will you ensure Ward 8 receives its fair share of the district's budget?
90 seconds.
I've knocked on a lot of doors since launching this campaign. And one word that comes up a lot is equity. Ward 8 has not had an equitable share of the budget in a very long time. We have underfunded schools. We have parks that have not reached their potential. We have not maximized our green space. We've not done enough to ensure that we are at the forefront and ensuring that our people are able to enjoy the ward to its capacity. So when we win this election, we're going to focus on capital projects like our rec centers. We're going to focus on capital projects like ensuring that we're doing infrastructure around the ward. Infrastructure that would create jobs, infrastructure that maximizes our green space, and infrastructure that really gives our people a leg up. So when we talk about equity, I'm squarely focused on ensuring that we have our equitable share of the budget and ensuring the board is at the forefront. Thank you.
Okay, Ms. Shalane, next. What are your top infrastructure priorities for Ward 8? And how will you ensure that the community voice guides public and private investments in our neighborhood?
So I'll start with the first part. First and foremost, infrastructure, making sure that MLK Avenue is repaved and fully done, because it's been promised for a long, long time. So one, making sure that our major roads and thoroughfares are paved, and that our streetscapes look good. So that is the first part. Making sure that our rec centers that are already in the budget, that they stay in that capital budget. As you know, the district is facing an almost $2 billion budget crisis because Congress is holding hostage 1.1 billion of our dollars. And the CFO has already said that over the next 3 years, we're facing about $1 billion loss in revenue. So wanting to make sure that the new rec center at Fort Grevel stays online, making sure that our parks and our recreation centers here are fully funded, making sure that we continue to fight for the investments that we want to see in our neighborhoods. As your council member, I will work with you, the community, down at the Wilson Building, making sure that I'm leveraging my relationships with the other council members to get our fair share of this next budget. It's going to be a fight because we are facing some hard times in the District of Columbia budget-wise, but I am going to work my hardest to make sure that our infrastructure projects are protected, that our school modernizations are protected, because our kids deserve the best schools. Our residents deserve the best roads to bike and to drive on, and also making sure that where we have bike lanes and other projects like that, that those types of infrastructure projects are protected as well.
Okay, so,
Last question.
oh, we-
Infrastructure, no, we gotta ask. Infrastructure.
here we go. Development is happening, but often without resident benefit. How will you use your legislative power to ensure equitable development and prioritize Black ownership, small business support, and community control? How will you use your legislative power to ensure equitable development that prioritize Black ownership, small business support, and community control?
You said it one time, let me see. I got you. All right, that's why they put me up there. I got the big mouth. Development is happening, but often without resident benefit. How will you use your legislative power to ensure equitable development that prioritizes Black ownership, small Black business support, and community control?
One of the things you have to do as a leader is have foresight. So we know that these things are going to happen in our community. We know that UMC is going to be demolished. We don't need to wait till the request for proposal comes out. Right now, we need to be working with CC Prep, with UDC, with our other workforce development agencies to make sure that we develop the people right now so that they can have those skills, so that they can become apprentice and journeyman and master whatever trade that they're in. So that when those opportunities come, we already have the workforce that's ready to step in from day one. Two, we need to work Department of Small and Local Business. We need to work with the Deputy Mayor for Planning and Economic Development right now, to show folks, how do you write a business plan? How do you build capital? We need to work with our young people right now to help them make sure that their credit scores don't become 400 and 500, so they got to spend the rest of their life trying to get back on track so that they can put together the capital that they need right now to be a part of those programs. We got to have that kind of foresight. We see a lot of these empty spots all around our community. We got to change the culture of our conversations in our neighborhoods. We have organizations like UPO, Martha's Table. We can go to some of those places and be part of some of their entrepreneurship programs so that we can make sure that our folks are ready. And I want to work with and continue to work with our community in having continuous conversations, Ms. Yvonne, about the budget and educating them about the budget with our civic associations and our commissioners so that we can prepare our future.
Thank you, sir. So we're gonna move on to the lightning round. In this portion of the forum, I'm gonna ask the three candidates a question, where you can only answer with yes, no, or a one-word response. Yes or no only? Oh, I'm sorry, no one word. Yes or no? We got it, Celine? Yes or no? All right. Brother, this is my guy. Yes or no? No yes, no yes, and no. All right, so we're gonna start with you, Celine. Do you support participatory budgeting in Ward 8?
Yes.
Yes.
Right, that's yes all across the board. Would you vote to expand rent control in the district?
No.
Yes.
The question is expanding rent control, yes or no?
Yes.
Do you support increased funding for adult education?
Yes.
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 Should returning citizens have more access to city contracts?
Heck, yes.
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 Should the city declare a public health emergency over gun violence?
It already has.
Yes.
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 Do you believe every neighborhood in Ward 8 has equitable access to health care?
No.
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 Do you support increasing MPD presence in high crime corridors?
Yes.
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 All right, we getting a lot of yeses. Would you champion commercial rent stabilization for small businesses?
Yes.
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 Do you support safe injection sites as a public health strategy?
Yes.
Yes.
No.
Would you vote to pause all new luxury development projects in Ward 8 until the district funds a comprehensive home ownership strategy for Ward 8 residents? Pause on luxury so that a comprehensive ownership strategy for Ward 8 residents can be put in place. All right, this was a loaded question. Would you vote to pause all new luxury development projects in Ward 8 until the district funds a comprehensive home ownership strategy for Ward 8 residents? So no more $3,000, 400 square foot luxury units coming here until home ownership is stabilized. Yes or no?
Yes.
No.
No.
What's the biggest challenge facing Ward 8? One word only, one word only. I'm gonna give y'all a couple of seconds to think about this. What's the biggest challenge facing Ward 8? Are you ready? Just give me a little finger up. No pressure. Here we go.
Violence.
Crime.
Opportunity.
Violence, crime, opportunity. What's one word your opponents would use to describe you? All right.
Hard worker.
Experience.
Lawyer.
You got loyal, experienced, hard worker. You said lawyer. Oh, lawyer. They loyal to their clients. What's one word your supporters would use to describe you? Your supporters.
Dedicated.
Hard worker.
Ready.
Ready. Hard worker, dedicated. I'm gonna start down here. What's your leadership style in one word?
Assertive.
Servant.
Assertive, say servant and
Collective.
collective. One word to describe your first priority in office. One word to describe what your first priority is in office. All right, Mr. Austin.
Displacement prevention.
Displacement prevention. That's a serious compound word.
Ending food apartheid.
Ending food apartheid.
Safety.
Safety. All right. One DC leader you admire, last name only. A DC leader that you admire, last name only.
Ray.
Gray,
Gray.
gray, rhyming words.
Roll up.
Roll-up. Gray, roll-up. All right. Favorite place to gather in Ward 8? What is your favorite place to gather in Ward 8?
Georgina's, AKA Players Lounge.
Georgina, shout out to Georgina's on the avenue. Ready, Mike?
Players.
Hey, if we got two for Georgina's,
MLK and Malcolm X.
that's a place, oh, just outside. We're trying to get y'all in the house and employed. We're trying to get them off MLK and Malcolm X. So now we know who be out there with the gray hair. If elected, your first phone call goes to. Come on, Ms. Bun, you got this. We stay on the phone.
So don't call, but it is a prayer to my father, up in heaven.
A prayer to her dad, James Bunt, up at heaven. First phone call, if elected.
My mama.
He calling his mother. Happy Mother's Day, belated Mother's Day, mothers. Who you calling, Mr. Adolfo?
My mama.
Two moms. Your mother's so important. All right. One word that defines community. What's a word that defines community to you?
Love.
You took my word, love.
Two loves.
Collective.
Collective. Last question. One word you hope voters remember after tonight. One word.
Celine.
Ready.
Celine, Ready, and Mike. Y'all give our candidates a big round of applause.
You want to question?
So,
You want to question?
so we're going to turn to the community at this time. I hope you guys have jot down your questions, some of the things you wanted to ask them based off the questions that they answered tonight. I think all three of you guys did an amazing job, and we thank you so much for making yourselves available to us tonight. And I hope, once elected, we can still greet you this way. So we're gonna, one second.
Okay, so going around the room are some cards for your questions. And while you take a minute to get your questions together, we have some questions from the chat. You don't know this is being live streamed, so I'll get out of the way. First question from the community online is from iPhone. He says, this is a question for each candidate. One of the sponsors of this forum is the Civic Association, but there are 8 neighborhoods without civic associations, and some of them are dysfunctional. If elected, what will your council office do to make sure there are functioning associations in all neighborhoods? And we'll start on this end.
So when elected, we're going to work closely with the ANC leaders and our civic association leaders to ensure that we're touching the residents. And so we won't stop canvassing, we won't stop touching the residents. We'll attend the meetings to ensure that they're fully functional, that they have the resources that they need, and that they're a pipeline to the council office. The premise of this campaign and my council office will be an open door policy to ensure that our residents know they have somebody downtown fighting for them. So the residents also know that they have an open line of communication to me, so there is no issues there. And so there shouldn't be any dysfunctional civic associations when elected, because I'll work with them to build their capacity, providing legal experience I can provide to ensure that they're fully functioning and they're well enough to serve our residents. It's a privilege to serve the residents. It's a privilege to serve Ward 8, and so our civic associations have to be fully functional to serve our community.
So when elected, one thing that I want to do is start a Ward 8 Leadership Council, and a part of that council will be our educators, our churches, our ANC, and our civic leaders. And one of our purposes will be to identify neighbors and residents to run for ANC, to fill our ANC vacancies, to make sure that we do have strong civic associations in all of our neighborhoods. I also plan to work with the Anacostia Coordinating Council, Mr. Philip Pinnell, who has done tremendous work on making sure that there are vibrant civic associations in all of our communities. So that's the 2 things that I would do: a Ward 8 Leadership Council that would identify individuals to run for these offices, as well as working with the Anacostia Coordinating Council to keep up the great work that they've been doing in terms of making sure that there are functioning civic associations in each of our neighborhoods.
Thank you. one of the things that I've already done is help make sure that we fill vacancies in our commissioner space, and I will continue to do that with our civic associations. I will continuously work with ACC, find folks who want to be a part of this, but I think it's important that we also find some young folks to step into this place and be leaders in these spaces, because far too often we find some of our senior citizens in these roles, and they're not always able to do some of the grassroots work that's necessary. So we want to make sure we find some young folks to work with some of our seniors so that we can have that guidance from our elders. Our youth are for war and our elders are for counsel. So we want to pair some of our seniors with some of our young folks. And I think it's important that as a council member, my office help provide that guidance and that structure on a continuous basis. Oftentimes we'll have a 1 or 2 day event and then the stuff goes to the wayside. It's important that we continuously set that time aside, whether it's every quarter or every month, to make sure that they can consistently get the support and the guidance that they need to make sure that these things happen. And finally, we will help raise the funds that's necessary to keep these things going.
Next question from our internet fans. There are some Ward 8 neighborhoods that are absolutely filthy. If elected, what will you do about it?
Well, currently, what I do about it right now is I spend a lot of my Saturdays, Sunday mornings walking through the community, finding these locations so we can make sure that we clean it up, right? Because I feel, no, I believe I live that a cleaner community is a healthier community and it's a safer community. And some of you all in here have some way, shape, or form participated in that process. So I want to continue to use the power of the office to bring our communities together, to bring our different organizations together, to tap into Soul of the City and say on Earth Day, we're gonna have a big cookout in the park and clean up. I don't know who in the world put a toilet bowl on Martin Luther King, or who put a shopping cart in the creek in Oxon right behind the Southeast Learning Center. But we not scared to go into the trenches, into the dirt, into the river and stuff so we can have safe places for our children. So those are things that I would want to work with every commissioner and say, hey, once a month, let's make sure your single member district gets the resources that it needs and partner with community organizations, and we do cleanups on a regular basis.
As a council member, I would definitely have regular community cleanups as I do as a regular constituent. I'm here in the ward. I think that is very important for the council member to lead by example, working with our AMCs, with our civic associations to do community cleanups, but also from an oversight perspective, making sure that DPW is doing what it is supposed to do in terms of cleaning up our neighborhoods. Oftentimes I ride around and see strips in neighborhoods that have not been cleaned. So making those calls to 311, holding the DPW director accountable for getting the cleanups done on a regular basis in our community. And not just at performance and budget oversight time, but having a regular communication relationship with the DPW director so that when issues arise, when neighborhoods call and say, this needs to be cleaned up, I can pick up the phone and call that director and say, these areas need to be of service in our community.
When elected, let me not stop. Seeing trash in your community on a daily basis affects your mental health. It affects how you view your home. It affects how your neighbors view your home. It affects how your friends and family view your home when they come to see you. When I worked at the council, former council member Lou Ribby made, we worked on a policy, and in it, we established residential clean teams. We currently have commercial clean teams. We need to establish residential clean teams. This will first clean and beautify our community, so people feel better about where they live, so it looks better when they come home from school. But also we create jobs, because we're going to hire Ward 8 residents locally. So establishing residential clean teams will be one of my first priorities, something we've already written. It just hasn't passed, but we will put that into policy as soon as we're elected. Thank you.
The next question is a yes or no question. You support term limits for elected officials?
No.
No.
Yes.
Next question, what are your ideas on addressing the benefits cliff? Residents making enough to lose benefits, but not enough to live in the city.
You got to say that.
Well, that's a very difficult thing, but I'm glad I got that answer. So one of the things that I want to make sure to do is work with our folks while they in their younger ages to make sure that they understand how to prioritize and save, that when these opportunities come, they're not sitting there faced with these decisions and not know how to make them, right? We want to teach folks how to be able to do for self, how to get the resources that they need so that when these opportunities are taken away, they're already prepared to step out on their own. And I think that once we get into this position as a legislator, you got to start to look at what kind of resources do we legislate for our residents when they take on some of these jobs and opportunities that we create, and make sure that when we do put together these benefits packages, that they can be there, and when separation time comes, that they can separate with a good severance package.
Can you repeat the question, please?
Sure.
I just want to make sure I answer. Right.
With the benefits cliff, what do you do for residents who earn enough to get all the benefits but can't afford the living?
Awesome. So I think one way that we can help our residents who earn just too much to stay on benefits is, one, making sure that we are subsidizing or incentivizing programs where that they can still work, but also maintain their benefits. Also, with our young people coming out of high school, going back to changing our graduation requirements, one of those changes includes financial literacy. So making sure that coming out of our high school, our young people understand how to balance the checkbook, how to save money. Also making sure that we are, again, working with our labor unions. Those are living wage, high-paying jobs that we can get our residents into through apprenticeship programs, and making sure that they come out of high school, or even if they're out of high school or an adult learner, can go into a job where they can continually make money and stay right here in the District of Columbia.
The DC Fiscal Policy Institute puts out these reports every year, and I often read them, and when are we going to solve this benefits cliff challenge? So yes, we can create policies for sure to make bridging that gap for them. First and foremost, it's really a work that are people who are currently on benefits need opportunities. Jobs. We're creating the jobs using our dollars and using our development deals to create these high-wage workforce jobs. Next, we have to expand our certain vocational programs to make sure our people are prepared for the jobs of tomorrow. Those who are currently on benefits and assistance are prepared for those jobs, and create that pipeline through CC Prep, through our other adult charter schools, through our adult learning centers, so our people are prepared. There's too much discoordination right now, so we have to have a unified effort, sit them all at the table, and make sure that we're prepared to go, because there's too much opportunity coming for us to miss out. This election is crucial, and we have to make sure our people are prepared.
And there's two more in the internet chat. The first one is, each of you have provided a policy that is already in process, that exists, and in some cases has already failed. What new process or policy do you plan to implement to affect the changes they suggest? Now I'll start this in, Mike. Question again. Each of you has already provided a policy or process that already exists or has already been tried or failed. What new process or policy do you plan to implement to affect the changes that you suggest?
Policies that I've suggested have been implemented. So I'll just reiterate a few. One, the residential clean seems to beautify our community, so our people feel better about where they live. So they come home to work and school. Two, the displacement prevention bill that I discussed earlier. That's something I co-authored with Councilmember to ensure that rents and property deals. Now that those projects, now that those policies have been implemented. So I think that answers the question. Those policies. So residential clean seems to be a priority for sure. And residents, so there may be attract development projects to the ward that are
The, sound keep going in and out.
Gotta hold it up and directly into it. Yeah.
So I would say, working with our labor unions has not worked out well here in Ward 8. We do not have a strong relationship with our labor unions. And I want to make sure that we are building on that so that we are getting our residents into the pipeline of having living wage paying jobs, jobs with high benefits, skills that are for a lifetime. Also making sure that we are looking at housing around TOPA reforms that allow our residents to stay in place in their homes. Making sure that with the full rewrite of the comprehensive plan, looking at zoning laws that can create more affordable housing for our residents right here in Ward 8 and across the city. So those are some of the new things that I'm working on as the next Ward 8 council member.
Okay, things that I think is very important when we look at some of the experiences that our young people have in terms of the trauma that they experience is when we look at our educators. Our educators experience some of the same trauma that our young people have. So something that I think is important is making sure that our educators can get mental health leave in addition to the leave that they already have. They also need a chance to decompress, to get away, to recharge and re-energize themselves to come back to work on our young people and their families. So that's one. Two, I will want to make sure that we can have a moratorium on all of the liquor stores that we got. We continue to build our community. We gotta make sure that we do not keep putting mind-altering substances on these safe passage routes that we claim to have for our children. So we don't need no more of those. So those would be two of the things that I would definitely champion.
Last question from the chat. Who are the external entities or stakeholders, not government related, do you plan to engage elected? Who are the people or entities, non-governmental, that you will engage if elected? I'm starting with the lady in the middle.
1 minute, starting now.
First and foremost, I plan to engage with you, my Ward 8 neighbors, my Ward 8 constituents, because this campaign is not about me. It is about you and the future of our community. I will engage with our young people because they are our now and our future. I want to make sure that their voice is heard in any policies that I propose as the next council member. I want to make sure that I am engaging with our seniors, making sure that we are developing policies that keep them in their homes, aging in place, making sure that we're looking out for the seniors between 65 and 75 who don't have property tax protection here in Ward 8, making sure that we are connecting with other organizations outside of this community, other organizations like Martha's Table, Far Southeast Family Strengthening Collaborative, two organizations that invest in our families and our youth, two organizations that do programming to keep us safe, to provide resources to our families. So again, I want to start with you. I can't do this without you. This is not about me. This is about you, Ward 8, and I want your voice to be heard in whatever I do as your next council member. Thank you.
So most definitely, I want to work with the community. I want to continue the work that we've been doing. Since October, I've been working with commissioners, residents, civic associations, nonprofits, so that we can have conversations around the budget, and we will keep having those conversations and keep putting those policies together that we want to see in our community. I want to continue to work with, like I said, brothers like Gino to make sure that we can make sure we are collectively not only with the folks at Marbury Plaza, but the folks in Wingate, all of the folks who are going through some of these rough housing conditions that we experience, for us to collaborate and come together. I want to make sure I can work with folks like Monica Ray, Finance Jones, who are proven leaders in this community that have transformed the lives of so many people. I want to work with Charles Turner in the AARP organization right here in Anacostia, Bellevue, and Congress Heights. so that we know that the voices of our seniors are at the table. I want the Howard right here so that we can continue to have those conversations when developments happen that impact the house where he lives, where his grandchildren play. We got to get down to the roots and to the weeds and to the grass and see what's happening in the day-to-day lives. And that's where I want to continue to be.
All right, now we'll hear questions. Oh, you didn't answer my, I'm sorry, come on. He said, what's the question one more time?
Which entity or people a elected,
Non-governmental.
non-governmental, thank you.
When elected, first and foremost, I want to focus on the residents. And so I want to make sure that we're continuing to canvass, we're continuing to touch residents at their doors. I think that's the tried and true method to counter issues. These kind of forums are great, right? But they don't happen very often. And if they do, they're too far and few between, and they're not as distilled. So I want to touch residents at their doors to make sure that we're hearing their concerns first and foremost. And that's non-governmental, because our job is to first work for you. Second of all, I want to work with the churches. I want to make sure that most of the churches in our ward are opening their doors more, so that the church is not just closed 6 days a week. I want to make sure that it's opening our doors to our homeless, making sure that we're doing more to increase their capacity and their nonprofit sector arm. Two, I want to make sure that we're building the capacity for other nonprofits in the ward. We have a lot of resources in the ward. They are not connected. So I want to sit all of these community-based organizations down in addition to our churches, so they can be serving our seniors. We can be serving our young people to ensure they have safe passage, ensure that they have a safe place to go after school, to ensure that we're feeding them, because there are too many issues and our people do not have enough resources that they're aware of. They're here. We just have to make sure that we're connecting the dots and making government work for them.
Okay, up next is with questions from the audience.
All right, guys. Now y'all know Ward 8 don't hold back. So we got some questions on here. The District of Columbia has declared itself as a sanctuary city. Given that Trump has ushered in a new era of white supremacy and racism, will you introduce legislation to declare that the city is anti-racist?
Is that a yes or no question?
You can ask that free.
Okay. So I think that we must continue to organize and fight for self-determination, self-respect, and self-defense of our community. We see organizations such as 3DC. We see organizations that don't have no name. We got brothers right here like Quasi who want to make sure that the people that live in this neighborhood are protected. And so as the council member, you have leverage, you have oversight over agencies, you have something that is very powerful, and that's the position of your office, the influence to work with our residents, whether they were born here or they just came here, to make sure that we provide the resources for people that are in need so that we can defend, protect our most vulnerable people. A lot of times we get folks that come here, if you ever go up to like Ward 1, we see a lot of people that may not speak English. We have a lot of residents in here that need to be supported. And we have the capacity to do that. So as a council member, that is something that I hold near and dear to my heart, to make sure that we organize for folks who can't fight for themselves.
Okay, Ms. Bond, this question is specifically for you. They want to know, can you tell me what are your accomplishments in Ward 8, even though you've only worked for Ward 7?
Well, I'll say one of my biggest accomplishments, we're standing in the middle of it. So I played a very key role in the development here at St. Elizabeth. When I worked for Mayor Gray, we started this work on St. Elizabeth. So being a part of those conversations, advising on the development of this beautiful site, being on the St. Elizabeth East Redevelopment Initiative Advisory Board, using my expertise and lending my expertise to the developments that are happening here. That is one of the biggest things in terms of accomplishments. For our Ward 8 scholars, when I worked for Congresswoman Eleanor Holmes North, being a part of the public policy development and legislation that gave us DC tag, so that our scholars can go to colleges across this country at in-state rates. Cedar Hill Regional Medical Center, proud of that. Yes, we need to do more with it, that it's so that it delivers on all of its promise, but very proud that we have a state-of-the-art facility that comes with urgent care facilities, and that we're working to make sure that our residents don't use the emergency room as our primary care physician. Thank you.
All right, this is, somebody wrote a question and they have multiple choice for you guys. We have a commission on poverty that is not functioning. To make the commission on poverty effective, will you, one, ensure that the commission receives $1 million in this budget for fiscal year 26? Two, that the funds be designated exclusive for the commission as a separate line item. Three, that no funds can be, I think this word might be Arabic, expanded on until all 11 seats for the people in the positions have been filled. So I know this is a loaded one. Okay, read it again. We have a commission on poverty that is not functioning. The current commission they have to address poverty, one of our constituents believe it's not functioning. They want to know, will you do these three things? One, ensure that the commission receives at least $1 billion in the budget for fiscal year 26, that the funds be designated exclusively for the commission as a separate line item. And three, that no funds can be expanded until all 11 seats are filled in that commission. Read option two again. That the funds be designated exclusive for the commission as a separate line item in the budget.
I choose option number two, mainly because that definitely put the funds there that will be designated for them so that we know that that's a line item in the budget. Fiscal 2026, we won't be able to actually impact that right now because by the time the council member comes on board, the budget will already been decided.
Was it multiple choice on the three, or though that was the question answering all?
So the first part of the question, we have a commission on poverty that is not functioning. And then to say to make the commission on poverty effective, will you 1, 2, or 3? I don't know.
It's not or, it's not either or.
Will you all?
Okay.
Thanks, yeah.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, they didn't specify. Will you all 3?
So what I will say is, in honesty and transparency, given the district's fiscal finances right now, if I was on the council right now, I can't promise that I can put in $1 million, given that Congress is holding hostage 1.1 billion of our dollars, and over the next 3 years, we're looking to lose another billion. Can't promise that million, but I would work on funding of the Poverty Commission. Designating for the commission, yes. No funding expansion until the 11 seats are filled, yes.
I agree. And I think first and foremost, federal issues that are taking money from us federally. I think that needs to be a priority. But I do.
You gotta hold it up, Mike. Yeah, there you go.
Love it. Yeah. Okay, sorry. I've been doing the wrong thing, man. I didn't know. To me, I couldn't get it right. But yeah, so I will make sure that we are trying to fund the commission on poverty. It would be a priority for mine. As white council member, it would be a challenge, federal interference. But I would want to fund that and make sure that it's fully staffed up to the full seats. But I want to work with them to study the effects and the cause of poverty.
What do you do, man? We only have 30 seconds to answer these questions now, Mr. Shopley. 30 seconds on question and answers. What would you do about the rapidly growing digital equity divide throughout Ward 8? The rapidly growing digital equity divide in Ward 8. What to do about it? 30 seconds.
One, I will make sure that we get the adequate technology services that we need so that we can get reception here in the ward. If you coming up Malcolm X Avenue, right off of 95, more than likely your cell phone service is going to cut out, or you don't even have access to consistent internet and Wi-Fi. So making sure that we can get the towers that we need right here in this community, and one is coming to Ballou High School. So that's something we're currently working on.
First and foremost, wanting to make sure that all of our schools here in Ward 8 have school provided laptops for our students. Secondly, being intentional about going after philanthropic support so that we can get digital devices for our residents here in our community, those who aren't some of our adult learners, so that they can have that equipment at their homes.
Our residents have to be prepared. Our residents have to be prepared. Our residents have to be. Okay. What time? I promise I'm not. So our residents, maybe it's this one, yeah. Our residents have to be prepared for the digital divide that we're currently living. Currently, a lot of our students do have access to laptops and technology tablets, but not all of them. So we have to close that gap first and foremost for our next generation. We have to make sure our seniors are having access to technology. Some of the senior homes I've been to, a lot of them, they do have some access, not enough. So we have to expand it for our senior citizens to make sure that they know what's out there. They can use the apps, they can get on Facebook. And finally, I want to make sure that for those for lowest income and our most vulnerable families may not be able to afford, we're making sure that they have that access.
All right, guys, y'all gave a lot of great questions out here in the audience, but we're only going to be able to do 2 more questions because we have a hard stop at 8 o'clock. And we want them to give their closing remarks. This question says, share specific examples of how you've ensured community input is at the forefront of your decision making. Going forward, how will you be accountable to Ward 8 residents? 30 seconds.
One of the things that I was working with United Planning Organization, working with other commissioners, working with residents to get recommendations put forth. And we will continue to do that, whether we do it through doing surveys, asking folks questions on social media, sending out emails to folks trying to get input, but making sure that we do that on a continuous basis. And we've been doing that since October. So that's something that I would want to continue to do. And with the power of the office, now you can also leverage those relationships as well. And also ask our at-large members to come and be a part of that process.
Last 2 questions. How will you, as the next Ward 8 council member, address the unhoused issue and youth homelessness?
So right now we have 801 East Men's Shelter. We got to make sure that that shelter is getting the resources that it needs so that it can continue to be a state-of-the-art shelter for our residents. And then we can look at DC Housing Authority. We have a plethora of housing units that are left vacant that need to be rehabbed. And work with DC Housing Authority, making sure that there's funding in the budget for that to happen. And then we look at some of the developments that are happening to make sure that they can have mixed use units so that we can have folks from all income levels be a part of that quality housing.
First and foremost, I think as a city, we need to develop a comprehensive plan to house our unhoused residents. A lot of them don't want to be in shelters, so they choose to be on the streets sometimes. So coming up with a plan that provides them with wraparound services, whether it is making sure that their documents are secure, making sure that they can transform into work, making sure that they have permanent supportive housing so that once they are into that housing, they have counselors that can work with them so that they can get trained for jobs and not repeat that cycle. Also, thank you.
Right.
First, we need to make sure that our current shelters are doing their jobs right. 801 East is not serving our men fairly. They're not giving and getting fair treatment. Too many men living with bed bugs, have to deal with theft, fights, and too many issues. I spend a lot of time talking to the men there. We're not serving them well. Catholic Charities needs to step it up. So I would say first, greater accountability and greater auditing for our current unhoused service providers. And then we need to make sure providing the wraparound support services to the other providers, because too often they're not being placed into job opportunities, and they're not being placed into opportunities to be successful and to go on and leave their family supportive housing services.
So that you guys can get your full 2-minute remark going, we're going to move past the questions. There were a lot of great questions, and so we'll send those guys. We'll post them, and you got comment on them later. It was about 8 more questions. But we're going to give you guys a chance to do your final remarks, your closing remarks to those who came out to hear from you and to meet their candidates. I first want to ask you guys to give all 3 of them a round of applause for being here tonight. We had amazing responses from them. And thank you to Destination Congress Heights, CHCTDC, Congress Heights Civic Association, and to all the other community partners that came out, Capital News that made this thing, possible. So who would like to begin with their closing remarks? And we have to limit it to 2 minutes. 2 minutes. Ladies first. Let's go, Ms. Bond.
Thank you, Ward A, for coming out tonight. Again, I am Sheila Bond, and I'm standing before you asking for your support and your vote on July 15th to be your next Ward A council member. I was born and raised right here in Congress Heights. I grew up watching my father, the late James Bond, making sure that his neighbors had a proverbial seat at the table when you couldn't provide for yourself, or when you couldn't speak up, or if you felt like your voice didn't matter. He made sure that it was heard. And I want to be that person for you. I want to work collectively with you to work on ending food apartheid, making sure that we can feed ourselves when we only have one full-service grocery store on this side of Ward A. Supporting our small businesses like Dion's, like Kitchen Savages, making sure that they have the resources to thrive and to survive. Working on public safety so that we are creating safer neighborhoods, so that we can attract the amenities that we want here in our neighborhoods. Making sure that we are focusing on improving our literacy rates, improving our math proficiency, so that our children come out of high school, college, or career ready. Making sure that my neighbors, your neighbors, sustainable and affordable housing, making sure that those of us who are ready to own a home have the money and the resources to be a first-time homeowner, making sure that our citizens, our senior citizens, our seasoned citizens who have built up this city, who are the backbone of our communities, can safely age in place and don't have to move out of the neighborhood that they support. I am asking for the vote in your support on July 15th. I am experienced. I am ready to work for you on day one, and I appreciate you having me here this evening. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. I want to say thank you to all our organizers for putting this together. I want to say thank you to everybody for coming out. My name is Salim Adolfo, and I believe that I'll be ready to earn your July 15th. One of the reasons that I know I'll be ready is because we've been doing the work. We've already been in the trenches, and it's time for us to reimagine what this board can look like. We've had residents reach out and say they want to get access to business opportunities. And so brothers like Mr. Elias came to the ANC meeting and he said, I want to have a coffee shop here in Ward 8. And that promise was kept to him. We delivered on that promise to be able to make sure he could get access to be part of Sycamore. And here we are 2 years later, delivered on that promise. I don't want to just sit there and tell you what I plan to do. I can tell you what I'm currently doing. Right now, we take some of the young folks in this community and we go to Joint Base Anacostia Bowl. And we talk to them about mental health. We talk to them about having opportunities to do more than just be an athlete or be a rapper. We talk about conflict resolution. We talk about having opportunities to travel the world. I'm a veteran. I work with some of our young folks to help them fill out applications to study for the ASVAB so that they can go and see the world and be things that they never even dreamed about being. We got to reimagine a community where our young people can see themselves having a family, being able to walk down the street. I want our elders to be able to go to the corner store and just pay their bills. Miss Betty Bowman said to me that she wants to be able to go on MLK Avenue and not have to walk through a crowd of people sitting there smoking. I know that she deserves that in her senior years. But also those brothers that stay on the corner need an opportunity too. They need to know that they have a place in this world and they can be more than just some guys that's just standing there. And the work that we've been doing and continue to do will afford our brothers that opportunity to grow, to be men. And we have to start to think about that. And with the work that we're doing and the work that we can collaborate to do, we can reimagine what Ward 8 can be like. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. I want to thank you all as well for coming out tonight. My name is Mike Austin. You've heard a lot tonight. I appreciate y'all for coming. So I thought about a closing argument, what I was gonna say, but I really just want to be transparent. I'm not here to make you feel good. Most of what I said today was factual. I'm not here to sell you a pipe dream. We've had that for too long. Board needs to peel the Band-Aid off and get serious about the issues that are affecting our people. We need to get serious about the state of our education system. We need to get serious that we are not giving our students a fair chance to become adults. We need to be serious that our seniors are being priced out of the same ward that they grew up in, the same ward that they purchased their homes in, the same ward they raised their families in. These issues require someone who understands the issue. It requires somebody to fight. Ward 3 won't give us anything. Ward 2 won't give us anything. This is not a feel-good moment. This election is very serious for the ward and the future of Ward 8. The person who wins this seat will have to fight with Kenya McDuff. We'll have to fight with Brooke Pinto. We'll have to fight with Matt Furman. They're used to lackluster from Ward 8. That ends now. We need to prepare for tomorrow. We need to make sure we're giving our students a fair chance. We need to make sure we're giving our residents real opportunities, jobs, education, street repair, green space. We have too many issues. I'm an attorney. I'm ready to fight. I've worked at the council. I've written policies. This is not a game for me. This is personal. Let's get it right on July 15th. Vote Mike Austin for Ward 8 Council. Thank you.
Okay, so I'm told that I had these two amazing moderators. So thank you, ladies. Stephanie Fu, Miss Kelly, CC Cram extraordinary student. Give it up for them. And in exchange for their time tonight, they each have a special question. So I'll let Miss Kelly go first.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so my question is, I had questions about the summer youth program. And why is there not enough jobs for the youth? And why is it a lot? The summer youth program is now a lottery. And I wanted to know, are you all going to provide summer jobs when you come in for the youth? This is definitely a lottery.
Yes. Title.
From what I've seen, I don't think it's a question of if it's a lottery, or so making sure that there's just more access to some of the businesses or nonprofits or institutions that can take on some of our young people. So I would definitely want to work with some of the institutions in our community to make sure that those opportunities are there for our young people.
So in transparency, the reason that we can't have jobs for Austin is a funding issue. I think the program works really, really hard to provide as many jobs as can be funded. And I think another part of that is making sure that we have businesses that are giving our young people real opportunity and real experiences. But as the next Ward 8 council member, absolutely, I will continue to support the Summer Youth Employment Program. I am a proud alumni of the Institute of the Marionberry Youth Leadership Institute, as well as the Marionberry Summer Youth Employment Program. So that is near and dear to my heart. So I will do my best to make sure that it is funded to the extent possible that our budget will allow.
Yes.
All right, my question is this. I'm a Ward 8 resident. I teach in Ward 8. I live in Ward 8. I raise my kids here. And listening to a lot of the questions tonight, both from the audience and that were pre-written for us to moderate this forum, I believe people think that Ward 8 deserves a council member for criminals, but that's not all that lives here. And so I keep hearing about funding for at-risk youth, and it's like the only way to get ahead in Ward 8 is if you get in trouble. You got to get locked up so that you could get some services. But what about the parents who are doing everything right with their children? Their children are making the grades and they're unsafe to go to school and they can't get funded to go to college. There's all the money being dumped into at-risk this and at-risk that. There are some people who are here to, they came here, to do all of the things right. And so I just want to make sure that this next council member, no matter which one of you guys becomes the council member, is the council member for all people, not just at-risk this and incarcerated that, and returning citizen this. There's a huge group of people in Ward 8 doing everything right. We can't get help because we're making too much for benefits, and we can't get help from our council member because we don't have a criminal record. And so I just want to make sure that which one of you guys, if you get elected, what do you want to do for those of us who don't fit into all of these categories?
Well, that's a good question. So I think many of the responses that I gave to the questions already incorporates that audience that you're talking about. Every child is, I do believe that every child is at risk, and I'm gonna tell you why. You could be at risk of being improperly educated. You could be at risk of not getting the services that you need, and that's not predicated upon your financial status. So I want to make sure that all of our children are getting the resources that they need. Now, in terms of that demographic that you're saying, the folks that are trying to do the best that they can, that don't go to jail, that aren't returning citizens, in Ward 8, I think it's very important, and I want everybody to listen to this. I think that it's very important that we understand that we have a responsibility to each other. And no matter all that, some our heart just leans towards those folks. But it's important that we see that all of the resources that we have here is open to everybody. And we got to do our part in that. When I go to the Southeast Tennessee Learning Center, that place is open for everybody. And we got to make folks feel welcome. And we got to make sure that folks know, no matter where you're at on the spectrum, that these programs are here for you. And what we don't do is make sure that folks that don't know that know that. And so to me, that's where I would like to make sure that my focus is at, making sure that everybody here in Ward 8 knows that every resource that we have, whether it's in PR or it's in Bellevue, is open to you.
Stephanie, thank you for that question. I just want to say, I hear you. As a single mother raising a 15-year-old child that is doing well in school, never been in trouble, absolutely feel you on that. As council member, I will continue to do the things that I've done, supporting our nonprofit organizations right here in Ward 8, like Mark's Table, Far Southeast Strengthening Collaborative, Southeast Tennessee Learning Center, that do amazing work with our kids. The Wilmo Lockridge Community Foundation. I helped to raise thousands of dollars to send our scholars to college, thousands of dollars to make sure that Martha's Table can take our kids through their global passport program to on international trips and to other places outside of Ward 8. So I make a commitment to continue to do those things, to spotlight and to highlight and to celebrate our amazing parents, our amazing scholars, and just working to ensure that we all have the support that we need. Because as a single mother, I'm doing okay, but I still need support. And there's a lot of parents out here that still need encouragement and support. So I will continue to invest in my community in that way.
I agree with right now, our middle income families don't feel supported. And that's unfortunate. It's unfortunate when you have to go to Oxon Hill, you go to the Target, you have to go to Oxon Hill, you go to the Safeway, you have to leave your community to enjoy some of the in the same way that we should. And so Sycamore and Oak is fantastic. We have a long way to go. We have a long way to go. We have a lot of space that we need to leverage to make sure that our folks who are middle income, who live here, who pay taxes here, that they have the same access to fun, that they can go and get a cup of coffee, they can go and enjoy their space in their community even more. Because too often we have to go across the bridge to do something. We have to go to Oxon Hill, we go outside the area to enjoy our walk. So we have to make sure that we're attracting the investment from residents who have the funds to stay here, who have the funds to spend here, that they can spend that dollar here. So if that means creating more Ward 8 businesses so that they have a place to spend that dollar, then let's do that. Right now, we have to make sure our residents who want to stay here and who want to shop here have a place to do that.
Thank you. Thank you all. Thank you, each of you, for coming to share with us tonight. I'm hopeful that this conversation has enlightened some of you about the issues that we're facing, help you decide who you're going to cast your ballot for, but more importantly, to be involved in the process. The Ward 8 council race is but one of the fights that we have to fight, but we want to make sure we have a good choice now and hold them accountable later, but stay engaged at any cost. So thank you guys. Just for I got a couple of announcements I need to make. Our youth board state board representative is sponsoring a youth-led Ward 8 council candidate forum. It's carousel style. It's going to be held Wednesday, May 21st from 5 p.m. to 7 at Thurgood Marshall Academy. For more information, see Khalid in the back. Raise your hand, Khalid. Thank you for your service. Khalid, not Khalid. The second, I'm sorry, his name is Khalil. He said. And the help that I didn't need on the front row. So once you make sure that you support our young people, the fact that they're showing up and making space for us, make sure we support them back. So thank you, Khalid, for that. I have bought ice cream for everybody, so don't leave for your ice cream. Be sure to see Book and Talk Cafe for amazing ice cream if you haven't already. And then the last announcement is, the Congress Heights Community Association, meets the second Mondays. This is a Congress Heights Community Association event. We meet every Monday, every second Monday, 6:30 p.m. It's a virtual meeting, but the June meeting is going to be one that's really special because we are electing officers. We want people who want to show up for Congress Heights consistently. So I'm happy to announce that. If you'd like to pay your dues for membership, you can do that tonight. You can cash in Congress Heights, CONGRESSHEIGHTS. Congress Heights. The annual fees are $25 for an individual membership and $75 for a business membership. Thank you guys for being patient, for your great questions. And thank you for each of the candidates for an amazing job. Thank you. Good night.